What up, YouTube? So, decided to go out last night. Met with this guy. He wanted me to help him build a website, and so that's what he said. But I'm very suspicious, right, about his true motives. And so this gentleman was is an African immigrant, right, from Nigeria. And so he's like, hey, I was doing a project and installing some equipment actually for his parents, and I met him. And he said, oh, you in IT? And I was like, yeah. He said, hey, what about websites? And we got to talking. So I said, yeah, actually, I'm working on a website, building multiple web pages, stuff like that. And he said, oh, really? He said, I'm trying to help my friend build a website. And yeah, maybe we could, kick it, man. You could help me with that project for him or whatever. So I'm like, sure. Mind you, he ain't talking about no money. But I'm like, all right, we'll just talk, we'll just see. So he invited me out. So he said, hey man, I wanted to chop it up with you, grab a beer or something, we could chop it up about the website. I'm over near, near your house. I'm like, all right, cool. So we meet up, and he's a very opinionated guy, right? And you meet a lot of these immigrants, right? I meet a lot of these immigrants where they come here to the United States and they think they got it all figured out, right? A lot of these black immigrants or different immigrants, Hispanic, different ones, they got it all figured out. And they're going to tell you all about it, Negro, because you Negroes, we got black fatigue from you Negroes. Obviously, you Negroes got problems, blah, 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 on and on, right? And so we got to talking and, just chopping it up about shit. And so he brought up Thomas Sowell, and said he read a book by Thomas Sowell, etc. And I'm like, oh yeah, I said, I've heard him talk, different shit like that. I'm not really feeling him. On different occasions I've heard him talk. And some shit he said I agree with. Some shit is kind of you know what I mean? I could take it or leave it. I ain't really a fan. And so he was like, yeah, I'm a big fan, because he brought up, so he says Thomas Sowell is against reparations, and I agree. So I'm like, really? First of all, I'm like, you wouldn't get, Thomas Sowell's, I'm not sure, but I don't know, maybe he's ADOS. I got to look into that. But you're definitely not. So why are you against reparations? First of all, it don't have nothing to do with you. You're an immigrant. You wouldn't get reparations anyway. Number one. Number two, you just got here. So how you going to tell descendants of slaves, black people in America, what they should get and what they shouldn't? Because Thomas Sowell told you, or you read his book, or you listened to a lecture, and he told you black people shouldn't get reparations. Like, what are you talking about, man? And so he said, what specifically is your issue with Sowell? And I was like, right off the top, man, I said, I'm not, I just remember he made some points and I disagree. I said, but, he's like, hey, I read a book by Thomas Sowell and I agree with everything he ever said. And yeah, he's the man and blah, 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 blah. And, woo, 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 woo. So I said, okay. Fuck Thomas Sowell. You know what I mean? Basically, I was like, And so he said, but you can't point out exactly. I said, I don't remember everything about, I don't fuck with Joe Biden. I don't remember every damn thing Joe Biden has said that I disagree with. Right? And I'm not going to quote you everything he said that I disagree with. I just don't fuck with Joe Biden. And I ain't got to quote everything to prove to you why. If you like Joe Biden or whatever, you know, it's just like you trying to make this point about, you know, name me, you know, 3 points. So anyway, but when I came home, I was sitting here next day, and I was looking at some takes from Sowell on reparations, right? I'm gonna play a clip of this real quick. Stand by.
Atlantic a couple of years ago called The Case for Reparations by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Quote, white supremacy is a force so fundamental to America that it is difficult to imagine the country without it. Reparations is the price we must pay to see ourselves squarely. Close quote. And Tom Sowell, who actually saw Jim Crow with his own eyes and experienced it, responds how?
It would be nice to know his evidence for what he said, just to be old-fashioned about it. No, it was a rotten system. But I don't know how we get from that to reparations. I mean, what we see in the United States in terms of the bad things, you see it all around the world. If you were to give reparations to everyone whose ancestors had been slaves, I suspect that you would have to give reparations to more than half the entire population of the globe. Slavery was not confined to one set of races. I suspect that most of the people who were either slaves or slave owners around the world were neither white nor black. I mean, this was a universal curse of the human species.
Africa, the Middle East, Asia.
And it continued elsewhere long after it was abolished in the Western countries.
You know what I mean? I've even heard people say like...
I'm gonna stop that right there, right? It's more to it, I'm not gonna play anymore. But that was enough. I knew it was somebody. And so Thomas Sowell, you ask him about American slavery, and he starts talking about slavery all over the world. We're not talking about slavery all over the world. I don't give a damn about slavery all over the world throughout the history of the world, right? If I ask you, listen, if I say, listen, I got a justice claim, right? You murdered my father 10 years ago, and we caught you, we found you. And you say, well, people get murdered all over the world. People have been murdered all over the world every day for 5,000 years. Why are you arresting me for murdering your father? What kind of fucking excuse is that? What kind of reasoning is that? What kind of logic is that? This is what this African man was trying to tell me, the genius of Thomas Sowell, and why I should listen to Thomas Sowell, and he listens to Thomas Sowell, and black people in America shouldn't get reparations or even ask for it. What kind of fucking logic is that? I mean, I'm not saying you should be for or against it, but I'm just saying, what kind of fucking logic, what kind of logic is it if I ask you about a particular crime, event, or whatever, to then say your defense of it, and you to say, well, listen, there should be no repercussions from that because that's something that just happens, has happened throughout history in other places. That makes no sense. And he's supposed to be a genius. Thomas Sowell is a genius. He's a smart guy. What's smart about that? I just debunked that in like 30 seconds. That is not a legitimate argument against black people asking for reparations for Jim Crow and slavery. Now, he says a bunch of other shit, and that's his argument. That's the gist of Thomas Sowell's argument. Right? You have no right to have a justice claim against American government in America for slavery and Jim Crow up until 1965. All these things, redlining, different things, whatever, well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because it has happened to somebody somewhere in outer space 5 billion years ago. I don't give a damn about that. That is not relevant to what we're talking about, sir. These are the type of people they put up for experts. Thomas Sowell. This is the kind of argument Thomas Sowell makes that makes him a genius. He can write a book, right? And then you get some black immigrant come and browbeat me about reparations because he heard something from Thomas Sowell. You people got a lot of fucking nerve, man. And I was trying to explain something to him like, dude, you don't really understand what's going on. Thomas Sowell hasn't educated you properly. And then you being kind of arrogant, right? And the thing with that is, immigrants can come here and do that, but you better not go nowhere and do that. Let me give you a hint for like if you travel. You better not go to somebody's country like Nigeria or South America or Mexico, and just because you read a little bit, you start getting arrogant with them and telling them what they need to do in their country. Dude, you might get hurt. But they have the ability to come to America and do that with black people. Like, y'all too comfortable. Like, when I travel, I never talk shit to people like that. I would never talk shit to people like that. I even stay away. No, I'm not even, you know what I'm saying? Even if I lived in a country for 5 years, whatever, I wouldn't be talking shit to people like that. Because I'm smart enough to know I ain't got enough experience in that country, regardless of what I've read, to dictate to people about their own history. You know what I'm saying? And so, Thomas Sowell also went on to say, I'm not even going to play the rest of that garbage that Thomas Sowell was saying. He went on to say that there is no impact after slavery, Jim Crow up until 1965. That's not an impediment to blacks being successful. Slavery and Jim Crow was not an impediment to blacks being successful in the United States. And the ramifications of those things was not an impediment. What? He said something in the interview. I'm not going to play it because he's annoying. Thomas Sowell's annoying. He's a clown. Thomas Sowell's clown world. Any black man descending to slaves saying shit like that, I would not listen to him about anything. Right? To say, oh, slavery and Jim Crow wasn't an impediment to black people's success in the United States. As a group, as far as like, group economic wealth and things like that. That is a stupid ass statement. I mean, really, do I gotta explain why that's stupid? Right? I gotta explain that if you chained up, that could be an impediment to your success. I gotta explain if there's a sign up on the wall that say no Negroes allowed. That could be an impediment. Obviously, there's some impediments around here. I gotta explain that to you. You're a dumbass. I mean, I'm not explaining that. But this is the man that this Nigerian put forward to me as why he wanted to argue with me why black people should never, get reparations. And I'm thinking to myself, where's your argument against the American Indian? Then I asked him, I said, well, the Jews get $15 billion a year from American government. And they send it to Israel to help them. I mean, that's akin to reparations. You got a problem with that? He ain't had nothing to say. He didn't have no problem with that. So you ain't got no complaints about that? No. You got no complaints about the American Indian, the billions that go to them every year? No. Your complaint is particularly against the American descendants of slaves? Yes. Man, you and Thomas Sowell, right? Not that I care that much about it, but when you show me that you got no problem with what's going on with these other groups, but your problem is with me, now we got a problem, right? It wasn't so much that I care that much about it. It's just that you don't got a problem with them or them. You got a problem with me and my people. Yes. All right. So you got, you got some type of you kind of got some type of hatred. Your problem is not based on economics or, or some type of, logic, right? Your problem is not based on logic. Like Thomas Sowell, his disagreement not based on logic. It's obviously illogical what he's saying. And these people are making arguments against, the American descendant of slave, but they're not making an argument against nobody else. I mean, people that aren't getting anything. They're you know what I'm saying? They're making arguments against them, but people that are, they have no problem with that. They biased against you. That's all that is. Whether you care about it like me, I don't really care about it that much. I do care about the fact that it shows you're biased. That's what I do. Shows Thomas Sowell is biased. It's not logically correct. Right? It's not, and these are the same people probably claim to be Christian. It's not even biblically correct. The Bible says in the book of Joel, you will be punished for not giving reparation to those that deserve it. That's what the Bible says. But these are the same people, I think he had a cross on, this Nigerian. I mean, these people claim to be Christians. These people are not Christian. Let me be clear. They're not Christians in the biblical sense. So, yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. That was an interesting experience, right? And I knew it was a reason I didn't like Thomas Sowell. I knew it because he's full of shit, basically. And it took me about 30 seconds to refresh my memory on why I didn't like him. So, yeah, that was a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I ain't gonna make this too long. So, but yeah, don't let people tell you they got the facts all the time. You know what I mean? Or play that intellectual bullshit with you. Thomas, people like Thomas Sowell, Candace Owens, these people are not, they're just disinformation agents. They're not good actors, man. They're not honest brokers. That's what I wanted to say. Thomas Sowell is not an honest broker. He has an agenda. Candace Owens is not an honest broker. She's definitely an immigrant from the Caribbean. And they shouldn't be speaking on issues with American descendants of slaves. Neither should Nigerians, immigrants. Particularly if you don't know anything, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And I see a lot of that now. You see white people, I'm gonna end on this, but I see white people like the dude from Legion of Men, Bo, right? You see him. I see this Nigerian I had drinks with last night. They always telling you, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know. I went to school, I went to high school with a black person. Right? I read a book by Thomas Sowell. Let me tell you what you need, what's going on. Man, I don't need you to tell me what the fuck going on. My grandmother's 95 years old. Her father fought in World War I. Fought the Nazis in World War I in France. My grandfather fought in World War II, her husband. We've been in this motherfucker since slavery. I don't need you to tell me what the fuck is going on. How about that? You think I needed you to tell me what's going on and you just got here from Nigeria 10 years ago? You think I need you to tell me what's going on? I mean, or some white man, you know, like the dude Bo from Legion of Men. He gonna tell me, oh, I have a black friend, I know what's going on. I was in high school, I saw black people. Black fatigue and all this bullshit. What? What are you talking about? You let people talk long enough, like Thomas Sowell and others, they'll show you what they really about. And a lot of times their agenda is not righteousness or logic or, you know, whatever it is. I don't know what the fuck their point of running their mouth is, but, you know, they're espousing all this garbage. And then when you correct them, that's why I don't debate people and like to really go back and forth. Because if you correct them, they're not like they really listening. They're not listening to learn or get clarity. They want to debunk you or punk you or something in the conversation. Because a lot of times, like, they think you stupid. Like these immigrants, like, they think you stupid. Like, dude, you can't tell me about me, my life. It doesn't make sense. You know, one more quick thing I'm gonna say before I go on that. He said something, he said, he brought up Jews, this Nigerian immigrant. And so he says, I don't know how we got on the subject. You know, that a white Jew would tell you he's different from a white man. And when I told him, I said, and this came from me learning something from, it's an experiment done at SRI Institute. And this dude, he wanted to be so smart, but I could tell him, like, dude, you're not as smart as you think you are. There's a lot of shit you don't understand. I told him, this shit has levels to it. This game got levels to it. You don't understand all the levels. So he said, this white man, I don't know how we got on the subject. He was telling these other white people that, you know, he was a white Jew. He was telling these other Jews that he's different from them. He's a Jewish man or whatever. And I was like, well, he's white man just like he is. He's like, well, he would disagree with you. I said, I would just tell him, you're a white man. Jewish is a religion. So then he said, Jewish is a race. I said, no, you don't understand what I'm saying. Those people over there, that is a religion. The Judeans were a tribe and a race of people. That's not the same thing, sir. The 1948 state of Israel and all that was created via a religion called Jewish. Judaism is a religion. The Judeans, which they are not any relation to, are a race and a tribe of people, come from a race and a tribe of people. Those are two different things. And they are dark-skinned people, akin to Africans or whatever, right? Or indigenous Indian or something, dark-skinned people. The people you're talking about, he said, you know, the people you're talking about are just white people from Poland, like Benjamin Netanyahu. So he said, well, he's going to tell you that he's not white and he's something different, Sephardic Jew, whatever. I said, let me tell you something, Chief. I would let you say anything you want. That doesn't mean I give a damn about what you're saying. You can say anything you want. If it's not true, I don't give a damn about what you're saying. You stand there and say, I'm not white, right? Like Jared Kushner or Benjamin Netanyahu or one of these other white Jews. And be like, I'm not white, I'm Jew, I'm Jewish, and that's different. I'll just be like, okay, buddy, you have a nice day. You're a white man, bye. You know what I'm saying? I walk down the block. I don't give a damn about what you say. You can say anything you want. You can say, I'm a space alien. Whatever, I'm going to believe whatever I want to believe about you. I'm not going to let you dictate to me what I think about you or what I know about you. You understand that? And it seemed like this guy, certain concepts he didn't get like that. Like, if you don't understand it, you could be mind controlled. You do not let people, I'm going to say this and I'm going to go. Don't let people force you into what to think. Force you to think a certain way. If you know what the truth is, you ain't got to argue with nobody and be going back and forth in debates. You can just listen to them and be like, all right, state your motherfucking, what you think about it and tell them have a nice day. Right? They're not the boss of you. They don't mind control you. Don't let nobody mind control you. Whether it be Thomas Sowell, some Nigerian immigrant, or some white Jew who think he is an alternate race. Right? You're just a different flavor of white man, like German, French, Nazi, Jew, white, Jewish person. It's just different flavors. Still are white people. You didn't change a race, you just changed your religion. And so you don't let people try to influence you into saying something because they want you to say it, or believe something because they want you to believe it, even though you know what the truth is. I don't give a fuck how many people it is. It could be 1 million people, and you're the only one that believe the truth or know the truth. Well, just be quiet and keep going. It's going to be a lonely existence, but just keep quiet and go on. Or you can even tell them, yeah, sure, whatever you say. But you know the truth, right? And that's what's important. Just hold on to those truths. That's all I got.